So in terms of should people be worried about all these debates about AI, I think to an extent, yes. There is evidence that shows that it's not just sort of the traditional, very sort of what we would normally see as sort of blue-collar work that's being impacted. In fact, the kind of trends are going very much in the direction of the middle-class jobs. So we're talking auditors, analysts, lawyers, and I think that's where the sort of potential danger lies. Because of course, the more automated those jobs are, the more, if you would, the top end of that scale will be something that is available to fewer and fewer people. So you have a sort of narrowing down of the middle class. And then in terms of potential solutions to this issue, certainly there's a couple that have been discussed, and I think the most compelling ones all address redistribution in some way. So that could be the redistribution of the benefit that businesses incur from hiring more and more robots. And that's the sort of robot tax idea. So the idea of, normally these people would be hiring individuals, paying various forms of tax and so on for them. And those individuals then would pay tax on their own as well. Obviously with robots, that sort of calculus is no longer there. So the robot tax is a proposal really for businesses to redistribute some of the benefits that they would incur from that to the public purse, and then the public purse can redistribute that in terms of training programs and etc. to allow people to requalify, to retrain and so on. So robotax is one idea. There's other ones as well that are being discussed to a lesser extent, including workers becoming more owners in a more substantive percentage of their businesses, because in many ways, most of the benefits in the last sort of several years certainly have, but even before that, have accrued to sort of what we call owners of capital. So sort of businesses and shareholders, and much more less to labor or workers. And so the idea there is by joining workers and labor into the ownership of capital equation, they would also reap some benefits from as effective shareholders. And then of course the final option is something like universal basic income. And there the idea is that if businesses were in some way to redistribute some of those gains, either through paying robot tax or paying appropriate levels of tax, those could be redistributed by governments in a way that very much left it to individual citizens to decide what might be the requalifying type of an opportunity for them. So rather than sort of locking them into ineffective retraining programs, the idea is a lump sum would allow other people to really take ownership of their lives, which I think is why it's attractive to some people, and also then really creatively engage and say, okay, this is what I want to try. I will use that capital to explore something else. It's a much more flexible way of engaging the question, and this is why it's quite attractive. Though, just very finally, this is something that an idea has been around since the 70s, and in fact it was incredibly popular in the 70s in the US. It had broad, across-the-range support, and then other things sort of got in the way. But if we could discuss these ideas before, certainly I can't see why we couldn't now.